Okay, so how to be authentic in any situation. Listen, the reason why we love children and animals so much is because they're completely themselves. They don't fake the funk, they're not self conscious, they're not filtering themselves. And we find that to be very charming. The difference is that children, we understand that children could say things that are offensive. And so we sort of forgive their offensive things as opposed to an adult who's trying to be 100% authentic, because you might say some things that you shouldn't say, and you're just not going to get away with it, right? Like, you know how they say, find me someone who's honest with everyone, and I'll find you someone who has no friends. So there is a certain level of authenticity that you have to develop, but also you got to have certain boundaries, right? You gotta understand the guardrails. You gotta understand the unwritten rules to life. So we're gonna talk about how to be authentic without. So the first one is learning to embrace your dark side. A perfect example of somebody who embraces their dark side and they're really likable are comedians, right? Comedians are the perfect embodiment of people who are likable because they say the things that most people don't say, right? And the reason why that's powerful is because everyone feels repressed. Everyone knows they're hiding certain beliefs that everyone else believes. And when they see somebody acting out on their repressed desires, people naturally become drawn to them. As long as you're not doing something criminal, acting on your desires, on your fear. It's almost like when people make fun of their own insecurities, right? Like me, I have small hands, right? Me talking about, oh yeah, look, but it's like me having small hands, right? A part of us would be like, we kind of admire that, the fact that you're able to embrace one of your negative qualities, that or one of your insecurities, right? Like literally talking about your insecurities, or even talking about how maybe, or even expressing your vulnerabilities verbally, like saying, yeah, I get depressed, or saying, yeah, I go through this, or even like when you have celebrities that are open about their drug addictions, like you kind of end up liking them more. The reason why is because it brings people down to size. People really feel horrible about themselves, and when they see that everyone is happy except them, they're gonna not like you. They got a sense that you're also part of the misery, that you're also unhappy. And a lot of us, what people don't understand, a lot of us fabricate the image that our lives are perfect, and that's not authentic. When you are able to find a way to express your weaknesses, to express your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, your dark side in a way that draws people to you, people will find you authentic. An example is Malcolm X, right? When he talked, you could sense some anger emanating from him. There's like a simmering anger, and when he talked, he was calm, but at the same time angry. In other words, he looked very formal, but you could sense there's a fury under him from a reaction to injustice. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not just the fact that he was a civil rights leader that was happy all the time. No, he was pissed off. And so because that his righteous anger, which is a dark emotion, drew people to him, right? So that's the first thing. Find a way to embrace your dark side, your insecurities. Talk about them. Be okay. If you're short, find a way to express that. If you're insecure about the fat that you have, find a way to show people that you are okay with it, and people will be drawn to you. Is to stop acting. It's pretty much comes down to not acting. Stop acting. How do you do that? It's very simple. Stop trying. Stop trying. Listen, the fake parts of your personality are in when you try. When you try to win people over. When you feel like yourself is not good enough, and so you have to put on an act. The problem is that most people are not good actors. And so it comes across fake. Your facial expressions, you're talking like there's like a fakeness. Hey, how are you? Of course, nice to meet you. My name is like there's a fakeness that you're not aware of. And the reason why that fakeness is because you feel uncomfortable. There's a certain uncomfortable feeling that we feel when we have to be ourselves, that we have to put on a mask. It's almost like when you're like people who don't like being around people. So when they're surrounded by people, they'll put the hoodie on, and it feels like it's like their own little comfort zone. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with who they really are. They don't think they're good enough. And so they have to put on an act. And you don't notice how everything of your personality, every part of your personality gets tainted by this desire to cover who you really are. So that means, for example, like this was my problem. When I went to Italy, I started noticing that people in my school just didn't like me, and I just met them. And there was this one girl named Dorothy, really, really honest person. And I asked her, I was like, "Yo, Dorothy, why don't people like me?" She was like, "Let's just sit down." And I'm like, "Oh shit." She was like, "Look, you try too hard. You try too hard. You speak over people. You speak too loud. You speak too fast. You interrupt people." And I'll be honest with you, the reason why I did that was because I thought that I was interesting. I thought that I had a lot of good things to say. So in my desperate attempt to overcome my feeling of insecurity, my uncomfortableness with myself, I try to overexert myself. I felt like if I didn't say nothing, people were not going to pay attention to me. And so it comes down to it really comes down to doing the opposite, right? The opposite of what your instincts tell you. So that means if you're naturally somebody who recoils, be a little bit more extrovert. If you're naturally someone who's very extrovert, be a little bit more inside of yourself. It's pretty much finding that middle ground where you're uncomfortable but comfortable. In other words, for me, it was that I had to learn to shut the fuck up. I had to learn to speak in a more relaxed way. So rather than talking like this, which is fine, don't get me wrong, I had to talk like this, which is actually kind of normal. Don't get me wrong, right? Like you actually feel more comfortable with me talking like this, right? So the first step is stop trying, because all of that excess energy is gonna like it's almost like when you know when you take a photo and you zoom and your photo comes from here, right? And it kind of makes your chin look big. Well, it kind of like it kind of zooms in the negative parts of your personality when you try too hard, right? That's the first thing. Now, the next thing is be willing to walk away, right? Be willing. Again, a lot of the fakeness. It's like when you watch people with their bosses, right? They act fake around their bosses. The reason why they act fake is because they want something from them. They can't walk away. I need the money, so I got to be nice to you. So because they have something that we need, we act out of character. And the boss will never really know how the people who he works with really are because they need so much from them. So, in order to be authentic, you got to be willing to walk away and internally not need anything from them. In other words, not try to find confidence from the situations, but finding confidence from within. Learning how to be your own ecosystem of positive emotions. And that really comes down through you developing a meditation. A good book that teaches you how to do that is this one, right? Check this out. Vipassana meditation. What you got to be able to do is learn to realize that your insecurities, your uncomfortableness is not going to get fixed by layering with fakeness and action. It gets fixed by you just sitting down, allowing the uncomfortableness to be there, and not act on those creepy emotions. Meaning, oh my god, like I don't think they'll like me. I don't, let me tell them this one thing that's actually cool. Don't say that. If I'm a guy and I make money and I'm with a girl and I'm like, oh, I feel like she doesn't like me. I'm not gonna all of a sudden talk more. I'm not gonna all of a sudden lean in more. I'm not gonna all of a sudden try to impress her with that car that I have. Whatever instinct that uncomfortable feeling tells you to do the opposite. Because what you want to be able to do is not feed that need for validation. Over time, it goes away, and what comes out is your true personality, right? And the beauty about this is that when you actually do this, you're not going to be conscious of it. You're not going to be conscious. In fact, you're actually not going to notice anything changes. What you're going to notice though is that you're happier, you're more at peace, but you're not going to think that you're doing anything. In fact, that might make you do more than what you should. You know, like there's a lack of consciousness when you truly change. You don't notice you change, other people do. So don't try. Even if you think you're not doing anything different, trust the process. You actually radiate more confidence by doing this. Okay? All right. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll see you guys next time.